Hey comrades, hope everyone's doing great. We're here to talk about Hero Quest. Hero Quest is a board game that I played a lot when I was a little kid. And then they remade it recently, and I was like, dope, I'm definitely gonna get that. It's baller as shit. But it was like $120, and I'm like, pass. They also had these expansion packs that came out. Anyway, so the game, the reason I'm talking about it right now is because I found like a Nintendo Entertainment System like prototype of this game. And it seems like there's an actual game that came out for the Nintendo Entertainment System that replicates the game and lets you play like one or two players. And it's actually pretty accurate to the game as far as I could see. Now, I only played through a couple levels. And it was pretty boring because not that the board game is boring, but you're playing the board game, like there's like a dungeon master and I can't remember what it's called, but there's like a dungeon master and then there's up to 4 characters. So, you know, you can all play it together. And then you each there's like these quests and they all use the same game board. And you just like reconfigure it a bunch of different ways, and you have different like quests to go through and whatnot. It's very similar to those Dungeons & Dragons Adventure Path games that came out. Like I own a bunch of those too. But with those, you like build a dungeon, and there is no dungeon master because the monsters all have like automatic things they do, and it's more of like a race against time to complete like the objectives versus Hero Quest, which you could just like really mosey on through the game because it's like the bad guys didn't appear until you like got to certain rooms where they were like situated. It is. I still think about it fondly. And playing this game made me think about it fondly some more. And playing the game, the reason I say it's boring is because it's not because of the actual game. It's because of the way it's handled on the Nintendo Entertainment System. So it essentially is like a mouse game, but you control the mouse cursor with like the D-pad, and it's very slow. And so you roll every turn, and this is for both the board game and the actual game. So you roll a die, and depending on the individual, you roll a different die, and that's like how far they can move. And then they can move that many squares. So when you're playing with like you and your bros, or like your brothers or your sisters or whoever, you're fucking playing this game with cousins, you can be like, all right, fuck, we're just gonna like ignore this rule, which is like you roll the 1, so you move 1 square down like a long hallway. Like, fuck that rule. You just like, all right, I'm walking up to this door because there's like nothing else going on, right? For like my turn, I open the door, and then it's like the Dungeon Master puts all the stuff from like the Dungeon Master's guide or the scenario book, or whatever you fucking want to call it, into the room, and it's like, okay, there's like monsters, and then you can go in and you can always like search, and if you search, if there's nothing in the room, you draw like a random search card, and it can be like traps or other things. And then you try to find treasure as well. And so when you're playing the game, like the board game, instead of being like I search for treasure as like 2 different moves on 2 different turns, because that's bullshit, you just like I search for shit, and it's like, okay, if there's a secret door, because there is secret doors, is there like a note, is there whatever it is, right? Like you're just like, okay, you found it. And if there's nothing, then it's like, all right, draw a random card, and you get like random gold and stuff. And then between scenarios, you can go to the shop, and in the shop you can upgrade your characters by buying other cards with like stuff that they can equip, but only certain characters can equip certain things. And the one of the defaults or problems with the NES game is that it doesn't spell that out as clearly. So if you have no idea what you're doing, or you're not using like a guide, it's like very confusing. Like, because you could try to buy like, you're like, who can use the spear? And the barbarian, so there's barbarian, elf, dwarf, wizard, and this is very Dungeons & Dragons like first edition or advanced Dungeons & Dragons rule set, or second edition even, where different classes, so the race is your class, right? So you can be like a barbarian, a fighter, assassin. I'm trying to remember, it's been so long, and I played so many different games at this point. Elf, dwarf, halfling, rogue, wizard. I think that was like it. And then, so elf is your class / race. So what the elf does is the elf has like martial prowess, but also some spell usage. Well, a wizard is like all spell usage. And then a dwarf is just another kind of fighter / barbarian with like different skills. And the halfling is pretty much just like a rogue fighter, right? And then the humans, I think in advance, I can't remember, I don't think it was in first edition, can multi-class. But the dwarf, like the elf is always multi-classed, for example. It's always like a wizard fighter. Okay. Sorry about that. So in this game, it's the same logic, right? It's like a Dungeons & Dragons game. So the barbarian, it's all about hitting stuff real hard. The dwarf is more defensive oriented, so it has like, if I remember correctly, more life. and they can equip different things. And then the elf can fight and cast one school of magic, and I think the wizard gets to choose 2 schools of magic. And the schools of magic are like fire, water, air, earth. And each school of magic has like 3 magic cards, and I think you get all 3 of those cards if you choose that. And so water has like healing and some other shit. Healing's the most important. And then fire has like 2 damage attacks. Earth like makes you more resilient, and courage. So fire is like the best for like offensive. And then wind, I don't remember because it was kind of bullshit, if I remember correctly. It might be better than I recall. I didn't try using it in this one. I tried water, earth, and fire, I think. Because every scenario you can like, so it's like if you choose to be the elf character, you can build up that elf character by buying items and stuff like that. But then when you go into a new scenario, you don't have to keep the magic that you chose, and there's no leveling up, which is a little too bad. So you just kind of like maintain what you got. And if you're playing like real hardcore, you like keep your hit points, right? And so then you gotta like find ways to heal yourself, either through having like the wizard or the elf have like healing magic or whatever else. Finding healing potions and stuff, which are not that hard to find generally. Again, a lot of it's random. I think you can buy them in the store too, and you can have like a stock, and like there's like character sheets, if I remember correctly. There's like little doodads. I haven't played the newest one, like the remake or remaster or whatever, the board game. But the Nintendo Entertainment System game that I played, it kind of incorporates all that stuff. Again, the biggest problem with this game, and because like I was like playing through it and I was kind of enjoying it, right? And it's all random shit. Like Dungeons & Dragons is kind of random, right? You just roll dice, so at the end of the day, it's just a game. It's not like actual role playing, especially when you come to like combat mechanics or other stuff. And you can play like more rules light stuff, like Vampire the Masquerade games, World of Darkness, which are much more like role play oriented, where there's still like roles and stuff, but they're less important. Or like Immortal, which is a fucking amazing game that like died off years ago. That really wasn't that popular, but it is baller shit. It's super role play heavy, in that you just kind of like dictate stuff, and you do make rolls for like combat and like against other people, so you can muster enough strength. But that game's so cool, especially the second edition version. Let me think. Okay, so yeah, so you got a board, and you unlock the board as you open doors and move through stuff. So like the scenarios, like the first scenario is like, oh, let's go in here, and it's like a practice field. We're just going to practice doing combat against goblins and whatnot. And then the second one immediately is like, oh, hey, the king wants to send you to like rescue his homie. You go rescue and bring him back. I'll give everybody like 200 gold. And you're like, 200 gold? Holy hell, that's pretty good. Because like the best weapon in the game is like 450 gold, and like even the broadsword is like, which is like the second best weapon in the game, is it's like 150. No, it's 250, I think, or 240 or some nonsense like that. So you can upgrade your character pretty quick. The best armor in the game, which is like where you get your bang for your buck, because the way it works is when you hit a bad guy, they have like 1, 2, or 3 hit points. Like everyone, and like the same thing with the character. Characters have more. They have like, I think Barbarian has 12. It's like the Dungeons & Dragons logic, right? So then the Dwarf has 10 or 12, and then the Elf has like 8, and the Wizard has like, I think 6, if I remember correctly. And every time you take a hit, you lose a hit point. But you gotta roll. You roll these like crazy 6-sided dice that are like, there's like skulls and shields and like other stuff. And so you roll against each other. And if you have like more shields and they have skulls, then like you take no damage. But if you have you roll and get so many skulls, and you do that much damage, so you can hit them for like even harder or more times or whatever. And then the Nintendo Entertainment System kind of replicates this. You don't see the die rolls, but you'll be like, attack this guy, and then you'll see like skulls on your side. It's like awesome. And then you'll see like shields on their side. And so as long as you have more like skulls and they have shields or whatever, then you like do more damage. And then like the better weapons you can buy, it's not that they attack more, they just like, when you hit, I think you do more damage. I'm trying to remember. Then again, none of this is explained in the Nintendo Entertainment System game that I just played. It's all kind of, I'm like recalling how you actually play this game on the backside. Like if you're just playing this game without like a manual, or what do they call it? Yeah, it's just the game manual. You're going to be like, I have no idea how any of these systems work or what's going on, because it's all very confusing. And a lot of it is like under the hood while you're playing this. But if you have like a familiarity, like if I had this game for like the Nintendo back in the day, I would have probably played the shit out of it, because Hero Quest is dope. And I have all this time, so like I can like meander about, and like most games are pretty slow, right? Like you're grinding Final Fantasy for like hours, or like Dragon Quest to get the Flame Sword. You spend like hours and hours and hours, because you're probably never going to find that Sword of Erdrick without a guide, and guides didn't really exist unless you had like the Nintendo Power subscription where they kind of describe how the game plays. You're gonna just be like, I don't know. Like, how am I supposed to know I'm supposed to take like the wrong path for like 7 dungeons down or levels down to find this fucking stupid Sword of Erdrick or the Sword of Loto or whatever they called it back then. So it's at the like you're playing this at the time and it's like, oh yeah, it's very slow, but like you're used to slow and you're just like killing time essentially, right? But that's why I didn't really play through it too much. Like I said, I played through a couple levels, just got the gist of what was going on, and I was like, that's good enough. I tried to find a cheat to make it go faster or something, and I tried the frame skip thing, but it's like you're moving the mouse, and so with like the D-pad, so when you're frame skipping and it's like too fast, you can't like get to the right square, and like if you roll a 2, it's not like you can be like go to the door and the character will just move like 2 spaces towards the door. It's like you have to tell it exactly which square, so you have to be very precise with your movements. So that drags it down too. And then I read somewhere that there's like a glitch where if you like open up the map to look at like the whole dungeon and then you move your mouse over to a space and just hit like the A button, it'll like teleport your whole crew there. And that did not work on the copy I had. Now that might have been for like the USA version, and I had like the European version. Sometimes with these ROMs and stuff, I'm just like grabbing random shit. And the version I have does say prototype, so maybe in like the final version, which I could have tracked down, and that would have made it better, but you still got to unlock all the rooms before they show up on your map. So it would have speeded up the game, because after you do something in the game, you got to like walk all the way back to the dungeon entrance. And that's another facet of like playing this game live, is that like, why the fuck would I walk all the way back, rolling 2, roll 1, and it's like, oh my god, this is going to take forever to like walk back to the dungeon entrance. And there's not random encounters, and if you already killed everything along the way, it's like, can this just be over? Like, there's absolutely no reason for us to like have to like roll die and walk our asses all the way back through this fucking dungeon. Like, we can just be like, we won, we're just gonna head back, and it's like, cool, dope, that was fun, right? So yeah, a lot of nostalgic feels for that. And like, if you never played Hero Quest, you don't want to drop like $120 and you want to get like the vibe, then you can definitely play this and you'll definitely get the vibe. And it's interesting, you can play 1 or 2 player, which means you can choose to play 2 different characters, and you can just like hand the controller back and forth, right? That's a lot of how these like 2-player games work. That's how Mario was. Like the original Mario, you didn't have 2-player controllers, you just had 1 controller, and you're like, play 2-player, and you would play, and then you'd hand the controller to like your little brother and be like, are you Luigi, your turn? Stuff like that, right? So it's pretty good. Anyway, so that's a Hero Quest. Wow, 12 minutes, good for me. I enjoyed it, but it's definitely like kind of a slog because of it's like, I'd rather just play the board game at the end of the day. And I would not recommend playing this in the modern era unless you're just like really curious about the whole thing. Oh, I also read somewhere that there were like game-breaking bugs, and so that glitch that lets you teleport is like mandatory, because there's some levels you literally cannot beat, and you can't play, like you have to play through the levels in order. Like it gives you a full list of all, like it's a lot, like 25 levels or something. But until you beat, if you cannot access like the next level until you beat the previous level. So if you try to like, okay, I'm just going to skip this level, the game does not allow that to happen. And maybe there's a game genie code out there or something, or someone has like a save password, because it doesn't use files, it uses passwords, or like a save state with them all unlocked. And you can play that and just kind of get like a more breadth of the experience. But it was good. The models are cute. It almost looks kind of like Game Boy Color-ish, even though it's a Nintendo Entertainment System. But they do a good job indicating whose turn it is by making them like a different color than like the backgrounds. But when you're in a room and it's not your main character's turn or the monster's turn, they just are the same color as the background, even though they have different sprites technically. So yeah, good stuff. All right, cool. Go ahead, like, share, subscribe, comment, and I will catch you guys later. Bye.